Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. And today, I'm going to go over a couple of things from this week, not only in the world of pro wrestling, but also I'm going to go over a little bit of Super Bowl 57, which I thought was a pretty entertaining game. So, first off, we are going to start off this recap with Monday Night Raw, which has us kicking off with Edge and Beth Phoenix calling out Judgment Day, specifically Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley, for an intergender tag team match for this coming Saturday's Elimination Chamber. That should be a fun one. I cannot wait to see it. So, next up, that leads into our first match of the evening, that being Damian Priest versus Angelo Dawkins. And the agility on these two guys was fantastic. Angelo Dawkins imitating his tag team partner, Montez Ford, going for the frog splash. 2 count. And then we have Damian Priest, end of days. 1, 2, 3. Winner, moving on to the United States Chamber match, Damian Priest. Now, later on in the evening, we see Montez Ford qualify against Elias in a decent little match. Nothing to really say about it. And our last qualifier for the women, we see Mia Yim, Piper Niven, Candice LeRae, and Carmella in a match in the last Fatal 4-Way to fill that, chamber spot. And it is stolen. This match is initially dominated by Piper Niven, because she is a big, strong lass. But it was ultimately stolen by Carmella. So Mella is the last woman in the Elimination Chamber. So that should be a fun one. Next up, and then the last qualifier. Oh, yeah, I went over the Montez Ford match. I don't need to do that. So, next up, we have Brock Lesnar out. He calls out Bobby Lashley for a third match in their series. Brock has a contract with it. Lashley takes it. Says, next week we'll see. So, next week we're going to have a contract signing. Well, next week, tonight. And, then Brock just F5s the shorts off of Bobby Lashley. So, that's probably going to be a fun match. And then we have that beautiful promo between Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman. They talk about the time Dusty Rhodes, Cody's father, and his time in ECW when WWE did not employ him. And that gave Dusty his confidence back, which Cody thanks Paul for. And this totally catches Paul Heyman off guard, which I hope is a real shoot thing. Like, we rarely see real emotions in wrestling these days, so I do hope there is some realness to that statement. And then Heyman shoots right back that, Dusty loved Cody a whole heck of a lot, but apparently Roman is the son he always wanted. So that ticked I think this feud has now gotten a lot of steam. I am ready to see Cody Rhodes dethrone the Tribal Chief. Or maybe it'll be Sammy. Who knows? We shall see. And then finally, that main event. We have Bayley taking on Becky Lynch inside of a steel cage. This match we were meant to see at Raw 30, but Damage Control jumped Becky before the match could start, thus putting it off. So now we have this match, and boy, oh boy, did it over-deliver. And then when it looked like the rest of Damage Control were going to get involved and cost Becky. Out comes Lita, former WWE champion in her own right, evening the odds, taking out Dakota Kai and Io Sky, and having Becky Lynch win with the manhandle slam and a pin in the ring. This is going to be interesting. There's a lot of rumors that Trish Stratus is also coming back, and we will see a 6-person tag coming down the line. But that is just a rumor for now, so we shall see. So, that was Monday Night Raw. Now we go to NWA Power, which was pretty short but pretty entertaining. The first match with any real kind of stakes to it was the Renegade Twins, who just debuted for the NWA, taking on Roxy and Ella Envy with Kenzie Page handcuffed to the ring post. Renegade Twins definitely fell behind a little bit. They got beat up to start. Then Charlotte gets tagged in. They hit a big old double team for the pin and the win on Roxy. So then they have now earned a women's tag team title shot at Nuff Said. We'll cover that in a little bit. And then finally, we have our 6-man tag team match playa, where the winning team, their captain, whether it be Tyrus or Matt Cardona, picks their stipulation for their main event match at Nuff Said. And it was a short, kind of nothing match, as Cardona picked Mike Knox, his family member, and Ronaldo Freeman, who actually has a couple of wins over Matt Cardona, while Tyrus picks Blunt Force Trauma, Aaron Stevens, two masked musclehead dudes. This was a relatively short match, and it finished with a claw to Ronaldo Freeman, which gave Tyrus the win. Tyrus then pretty much said, yeah, no managers, no seconds, straight one-on-one, which, we'll see how that goes. Next up, we have MLW Underground. MLW's debut on the Rios channel. And while there were a few matches on this card, there's really only one of substance. The MLW World Heavyweight title match, as Alexander Hammerstone defends against EJ Nduka. And boy, oh boy, this was a hoss fight of all hoss fights. They used chains against each other. They used doors, which in, independent wrestling is pretty much a substitute for tables. They used chairs. They used thumbtacks. And it was just brutality at its best level. However, the finish came with the judge, Nduka, going for his finisher. Alex Hammerstone bows out and then hits him with the Nightmare Pendulum, which is my favorite finish move of the current era, for the pinfall victory. I really, really enjoyed this match, and I do hope, if you haven't seen MLW, you go at least watch this match, because I enjoyed the heck out of it. Alright, next up, we have a lot to go through for this, as it's AEW Dynamite, and we start off with MJF versus Konosuke Takeshita in a, I guess you could call it a number one contenders match. Basically, MJF is the champion. The title isn't on the line, but if Takeshita does get a win, maybe he gets added to Revolution. We shall see. So, this was one of my favorite matches this week. Takeshita always going for his big moves. MJF just getting out of the way. Eventually gets him in the salt of the earth submission, and that'll do it. Takeshita then got a little bloodied up during the match. Post-match beatdown by MJF, in which Bryan Danielson, who after weeks of Takeshita helping him out, comes out to help Takeshita. And that'll play into a storyline a little bit later. Next up, Ricky Starks took on the JAS in a gauntlet match. Took out Matt Menard and his partner, I forget his name. He then takes on Daniel Garcia in a spot where it looked like it was supposed to be Garcia to start. Then Guevara comes out with him. Looks like they're both getting in the ring. Starks then goes after Guevara. Garcia gets in the ring, beats him down a little bit. And they actually have a really good back and forth bout, including a big double chicken wing submission by Garcia. They then fall out of the ring. Starks is up against, the divider between the fans and the ring. Overcomes a masked fan who hits a Judas Effect elbow. Garcia gets him back in the ring for the pinfall. And under the mask, of course, it's Chris Jericho. So if Starks would have gotten by Garcia, he would have had a match with Jericho that night. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I do feel like we're going to see Jericho versus Starks at Revolution in some sort of stipulation match. We'll see what, but I feel like that match was very entertaining. In a backstage segment, we see Danielson in the trainer's room with Takeshita, who is tending to his injuries. We then hear what sounds like MJF barricade the door to the trainer's room, because up next, Danielson has a match against Roosh, in which we'll get to it. We then see Aubrey Edwards ring the bell. MJF wants a count out by like 6. Danielson breaks out of the trainer's room, goes down to the ring, and just makes it. Who then Rush then goes on the attack, and they have a beautiful bout together. If you haven't seen it yet, go give it a watch. And then match ends after a Busaiku knee to Roosh and a pinfall victory for Danielson. Danielson is still so damn good. I don't see how anyone can hate this guy. MJF then starts to come down to the ring. He is then intercepted by Takeshita. So it looks like we are having that 60-minute Iron Man match at Revolution between MJF and Danielson, in which, yes, please, I cannot wait for that. That is going to be a fun one. All right. Next up, the Trios titles are on the line as AR Fox and Top Flight challenge the Elite, the Elite to a match. And boy, oh boy, this match was high-flying and just very, very hard to keep track of for me. Omega gets the pinfall victory after a big old one-winged angel, and it was just a fun bout. I liked everything about this. I just wish my brain could keep up, because it was nuts. And we have our main event. The AEW World Tag Team titles are on the line as the Acclaimed defend against Austin and Colton, the Guns. Billy Gunn was actually actually stayed in the back, so no interference from them. This match was really well worked. I really did like the chemistry between the two. However, finish game. We have Billy Gunn coming out. Actually, ref gets knocked out, like almost immediately. Billy Gunn comes out, looks like he's going to attack the Acclaimed. He then stops his boys, Colton and Austin, from using the title to attack the Acclaimed. But then his boys attack him, hit their and it looks like a distraction's happened, and Austin pins Max for the win and the titles, new AEW Tag Team Champions. Now, I have seen the discord and the dislike to this finish by the fans on Twitter. I am definitely with them. I don't think the Guns are quite ready for this level. However, I am interested in seeing where this goes. So, we'll see what happens. Alright, up next we have Impact Wrestling, and making her Impact debut is Steph DeLander, who I believe was an NXT superstar. And she takes on Jordan Grace. And man, this was another great hoss fight. These two really went at it. Looked like they were trying to knock each other out. Ultimately, Grace wins with the Grace Driver, which looked pretty brutal because it looked like DeLander landed on her head. But it does look like she's okay. So yeah, Steph DeLander gets the win. Next up, in a very odd teaming, you have Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde taking on the Death Dolls. Now, titles aren't on the line, but something weird definitely happened in this match. Like, it was definitely a well-booked match, but Taylor Wilde has this new, like, witch gimmick, and she, like, reads tarot cards. So every time she's up on the apron, she's going through it. She then picks out the Devil card, throws this card at Killer Kelly, her tag team partner, in which Rosemary wins via roll-up. So, match itself wasn't bad, but to come, out comes Father James Mitchell, Rosemary's keeper, I guess. I don't know what to call her. Who then reintroduces the Hex to Impact Wrestling. Marty Bell was previously in the Dollhouse stable with Mia Yim and I forget her name. And Allison Kay is actually a former Impact Women's Champion. Although I think that was when Impact was Global Force. So maybe she was a Global Force Women's Champion. So I don't really know the canon. So we'll see where that goes. PCO then beats Shira in a very short yet fun match to qualify for a Fatal 4-Way for a shot at the world title at No Surrender. And we finally have our main event, Matt Cardona challenging Joe Hendry for the Digital Media Championship. And this match was definitely full of shenanigans, but it was also a very fun, very good wrestling match. With, of course, Joe Hendry getting the pinfall. And now I hope I'm not reading too much into this, but it does look like Matt Cardona is done with Impact, and we could see him maybe going back to the WWE. We shall see. Now, that is that. Next up, we have SmackDown, in which I was actually in the house for, being from the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and it was a pretty interesting venue for this place. Only 10,000 seats, and we were pretty jam-packed in there. So, Show begins. We got Paul Heyman in the ring, cutting a promo, pretty much doing his usual spiel about Elimination Chamber and Sami Zayn, WrestleMania, and Cody Rhodes. Then out comes Sami Zayn to a big pop, basically saying, you have, with Jey Uso leaving during the Rumble when you guys were beating me down, how much longer could the bloodline stay afloat? And that next step is me winning the WWE Universal Championship at Elimination Chamber, which gets a great big reaction. And we go to a very interesting match as Jimmy and Jey Uso, or so we thought, were set to defend against Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Jimmy actually comes out by himself at first, and before the announcer could announce this as a handicap match, Jey, from the crowd, comes on down, basically confirms, hey, I'm here, let's do this. And they successfully defended their titles in a very fun, very awesome back and forth match between them and Strowman and Ricochet. So, again, fun match. We'll see where this goes for Elimination Chamber. Now, post-match, we do see Jey Uso leaving the arena on his own. He's in the parking garage. Sami Zayn shows up. Basically says, oh, you don't have to go down with the ship. The bloodline are on their last legs. Roman is scared, blah, blah, blah. And then we see an interesting thing. Sami Zayn basically saying, Jey, I acknowledge you. Puts out the fist. Jey then looks around a little bit. Reciprocates. Now, Elimination Chamber, I'm ready to cry, man. Because I got a funny feeling Jey is about to turn on Sami, which will eventually set up Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the tag titles at WrestleMania. Which, honestly, I'm kind of here for. And then our main event of the evening to crown a new number one contender for Gunther's Intercontinental title for next week. As we had Rey Mysterio, Madcap Moss, Karrion Kross, and Santos Escobar in a very fun, very well-paced bout with a very surprising finish, which saw Madcap Moss pick up a big victory, and he is now number one contender. So we shall see how that goes. No Rampage for me this week, as I said, I did not watch. I was at Mohegan Sun having a little fun. So now with the weekly stuff out of the way, we now have NWA Nuff Said, which ultimately I did have fun with. There were some things I was a little about, but we shall go through it. So first up, to kick off the show, we have a Singapore cane match between Tom Latimer and relative newcomer Fodder, who is from, I believe, Control Your Narrative. I could be wrong about that. And this match was absolutely brutal. A lot of back and forth, a lot of shots from kendo sticks. Ultimately, we have Latimer hitting the pile driver and then using a crossface combined with the help of a kendo stick to get the submission victory. That was a very creative finish. I did enjoy it. Nothing more to say about it. Next up, in a relatively short yet well-paced match, you had Kerry Morton defending his junior heavyweight title against Alex Taylor. Now, this was a very fun bout. I do wish it was given more time because it felt like it just got into second gear and then stopped. And with Kerry Morton getting the victory. Now, next up was a very concerning match. I don't even know what to call it. You have Three Billy Silas Young taking on J.R. Kratos. These two have had a couple of matches before, so this is their third bout against one another. At one point, Kratos takes a turnbuckle pad off of one of the turnbuckles, but then eventually he does run into it head first, which ultimately knocks him out. And then the ref stops the match, which, don't get me wrong, safety first, obviously. Would I have liked to see a more clean finish? Absolutely. But it is what it is. Next up, we have the women's tag team titles on the line as Pretty Empowered take on the Renegade Twins. Like I said, Renegades already have a victory kind of against Pretty Empowered. And, yeah, they picked up another victory here. A relatively short match, but I do enjoy what I saw. So, congratulations to the Renegades. Next up, in a bit of an awkward match, considering it was this person's first match in like 6 years, maybe, we have EC3 taking on Kevin Kiley. Now, if you don't remember Kiley, he was the former Alex Riley in WWE. He teamed with The Miz. He was his protege for a while he was WWE champion. And anyway, he was pretty much the punching bag for The Miz, taking shots to from Miz's opponents during brawls. Yeah, this match was a little awkward. Definitely started out fun with Kylie trading blows with EC3. EC3 then ends up the outside. Riley then dives over the turnbuckle to try to get to EC3, but then lands hard on the floor, which that scared the heck out of me. EC3 then gets him back in the ring for the submission victory. This was more mind game stuff from EC3, which is fine. I didn't expect this great, big, grand wrestling match, but I thought it was fine. Next up, we have the NWA World Tag Team titles on the line as La Rebellion defends against Brunt Force Trauma. Now, this match was another fun bout. You had the speed of La Rebellion taking on the brute force of Brute Force. Ultimately, I believe it was Carnage was on the ropes, taking on Mecha Wolf's offense. Then Aaron Stevens surprisingly gets on the ring ropes and then just hits Mecha Wolf with his loaded glove right in front of the referee, and then the ref calls for the DQ. Bit of a stupid finish to a otherwise really fun match. I do hope they eventually run this back without Stevens. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Now, next up is easily my match of the evening, as it's a no DQ match for the NWA Women's title, as Camille defends against Angelina Love. And before the bell even gets to ringing, Camille, no entrance, just starts beating on Angelina Love. They brought out the kendo sticks, they bring out the table. Camille at one point sets up Angelina Love with her trash can in her face in the corner and it hits a coast to coast beautifully, which I haven't seen one of those in so long. Even Shane McMahon stopped doing them. Match finish came with a Camille spear through Angelina Love through the table, a pinfall, and the 3. I think this was easily Camille's best match. Not to say she has had a bad match yet, but I think this was one of her best bouts. Next up, for the NWA national title, you have Scion defending against Homicide. Now, Homicide did get this bout by pretty much threatening Austin Idol, who is Sion's dad. Throughout this match, you have Homicide trying to unmask Scion so we can finally see his face. Scion is a masked superstar, if you haven't guessed. I thought this match was a lot of fun. A lot of brutal spots, including from Homicide, obviously. But then Scion gets the win after a beautiful Death Valley driver. I do wish it had a few more minutes to really breathe, but ultimately it was a good fun match. And finally, in our main event of the evening, you have Tyrus defending his World Heavyweight title against Matt Cardona with no managers at ringside, no seconds. This bout started off really fun, actually, with Cardona hitting most of his offense right away, including a beautiful radio silence right off the bat. Then a couple of broski boots. I don't know what they call them today. To Tyrus. Tyrus then fights back, crushes the ref into the corner accidentally. Then out comes Ronaldo Freeman, who has, again, a couple of victories against Cardona. He has a chair, looks like he's going to hit Cardona, hits Tyrus instead, in which Tyrus just no-holds it, and then pushes the man out of the ring. And then, anyway, a little bit after that, Mike Knox comes down. He has the ring bell in his hand, looks like he's going to give it to Cardona. Then Bully Ray, who is sitting on the commentary desk, takes it and then starts fighting back against Mike Knox. This gets the attention of Cardona, who right behind him is Tyrus, hits him with the clawed slam for the win in a very below average match. Personally, I don't like Tyrus's matches. Cardona really did most of the work here. And then with all the smoke and mirrors, it's to protect Tyrus. Then, post-match, we have Bully Ray challenge for the NWA title. So, we have that to look forward to. And finally, I am going to go over a little bit of Super Bowl 57, which I had a lot of fun with. This was a fun game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, with the final score being 38-35 Chiefs. Chiefs get a big win. Now, I do have a bit of a stat line here. We have Patrick Mahomes going 21 for 27 in the air with 182 yards and 3 throwing touchdowns, winning the MVP for the game, while Jalen Hurts went 27 for 38 with 302 yards, which, that's interesting. 1 passing TD, but also 3 rushing touchdowns, which, that's very impressive, and I believe it is also a record or close to a record for most touchdowns in a single game. Bit of a controversial finish, as the Chiefs were called for... No, the Eagles were called for a penalty near the end of the game, which cost them time. That's really sad to see from the NFL, but hey, what can you do? It was still a lot of fun game, and honestly, it was a fun weekend. I was very entertained from the wrestling to the football game. Now, this week, again, I am going to cover the weekly stuff. Um, we have we have Elimination Chamber coming this week. So on Friday, I'm going to give you my predictions for that show. And yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this week in wrestling. Let me know your opinions on NWA Nuff Said. Let me hear your opinions on the Super Bowl. And let's just all have a really good day. Until next time, peace.